The most dangerous place on earth is our subject today, and the battles that the women fight to save their country. Judy Anderson from Heal Africa, welcome to Rainmakers.
Thanks. Great to be here.
All right, so we started the show with that the most violent place on earth may very well be the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, right where you work. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Why so?
A whole combination of factors. One of them is that Eastern Congo has been the scene of a number of conflicts, one after the other.
It used to be Zaire.
Right,
okay.
Right. Continuing for the last 16, 17 years. And it revolves around resources. There are a lot of minerals, and whoever controls the ground, it makes it much easier to mine it. So minerals are part of it. Part of it is that there's a part of the army that came over from Rwanda in 1994 that have never left, and they are actively involved in the mining. And then
So in just this short period of time, you define mining and minerals and an army from another country.
And a lot of political intrigue and different factions vying for political control and power, and of course the money.
And the money.
The money.
Now, the mines themselves about minerals, this is the minerals that go into cell phones and electronics, like
and
the
gold
computer
and diamonds,
that I've got right here.
tin, tungsten, yes.
Okay. Why then does the violence seem focused on women?
Well, women are the leaders or the creators of community in most societies. And if you destroy the women, you destroy the family, and you destroy the heart of a community. And so they have found that by targeting women, it makes the men seem impotent, unable to do anything to protect their families, which is really their role, and especially in traditional societies. And people just, when a militia comes into a village and kills or makes the men, rapes their wife or their daughters in front of a man, it unmans them in a way and makes them afraid and feel powerless. And so often a village will move or leave because they do that to 30, 40 houses. Everybody runs off in panic. The women that are taken as slaves go into the forest with whoever it was that took them, and they work as slaves for a while. And eventually some of them may be released, some of them escape, and some of them are still there. The
incidence of HIV and AIDS is still incredibly high in the Congo. The life expectancy is only 55 years, according to the UN figures.
I'd say less.
And you're
in a lot of places, yeah.
And then, because this has been going on for so long in the Congo, the number of people that have been killed in this civil war, if you will, is in the millions now. Yeah, they said 6 million a year or two ago. So, and that's the byproduct. It's because when you have conflict, you don't have good services, health, education, you don't have water, you don't have access to trade. Everything is more difficult. So you're Heal Africa, and forgive me, but you don't look African. No. My husband and I were asked to start an organization in the States to support work that was begun in Congo by Congolese. And when we were working in Central Africa, we came to see them and know them. We've known them for 11 years and have seen how their work has started in one small place and expanded into communities, because they realized that health is not about the hospital treatment. It's so much that happens before you get to the hospital, and then if you release a patient back to a community, the situation in that community really has a very great long-term effect on their health. So we've talked about an awful lot of issues right here. So who is Heal Africa? Heal Africa was begun by a couple, Joe and Lynn Lucy, in Goma. And Goma is in the Democratic Republic of Congo, right, North Kivu. And it was begun, it was begun in the late 90s, but based on their work in their whole professional lives. He's Congolese, he's an orthopedic surgeon. She came to Congo in the early 70s as a teacher. They met, married, and she decided to really make her life in Congo. and she and her husband have worked together ever since.
In the Congo?
In the Congo. In the eastern Congo, and
what you see, and that's the most violent of the violent country.
Yeah.
Is the eastern Congo. I have read that there are estimates as high as in the eastern part of the Congo that as many as 70% of the women have been raped.
Right. You know, the value of a woman is always a difficult thing to define. In every culture, people define the value of a woman in a different way. But as a result of so much lack of slave trade, the colonialism, the lack of a cohesive government that really took care of its people in Congo for many years, and then the civil war, the conflicts that have continued, there has been nobody saying, wait a minute, who are the ones we need to protect? In their traditional cultures, there were, one tribe has the word for woman, and it's queen. So how did a queen become a slave? And that became the research focus of one of the Congolese professors at one of the universities in Goma, and it's quite interesting. So, but you have this changing environment that has affected the way people think about each other. They think about each other differently, whether it's tribe to tribe, whether it's male to female, whether it's old to young. And so a lot of the traditional respect for women has been eroded. And what Heal Africa is doing is working with people in communities to start rethinking the way we treat each other. Heal Africa, it's all Congolese, so they know the customs, they know what's actually happening, they know what tribal customs say, but also what people are doing. And in Congo, like everywhere else, people know one thing and do another very often. We have so much information available to us, and we don't always do what we know is best either. So it's a human thing. But creating a space to think about it in an orderly way has really started tribal chiefs changing tribal customs.
So there's been a
to
change of
protect
culture.
women. Yes,
Really?
it's happening.
Well,
and you know,
a lot of NGOs that do great work do things on a project by project basis. This sounds like something different.
Right, because Heal Africa isn't a project. We have different work going on in different areas of life, but it's based on the relationship that Heal Africa has as Congolese to Congolese. And for me, that's why I'm interested in it, and that's why I'm here today, because I think that's the only way that anything can change.
Tell me about a day in the life of a woman in the Congo who has been raped.
Okay, let's imagine this woman was in her garden and she was weeding, and a group of armed men came out of the forest, and the women, she was maybe with a group of 5 or 7 other women, and she had her baby, so she was caught. She couldn't run as fast. And they overpowered her, they raped her. She goes back to her home, and if nobody has been in her village before to talk about this relationship and rethinking how we see each other, her husband would say, "Why did you get raped? You've disgraced me in front of the whole community. You go, take the child and go." Or the child may be taken by his family and said, "Okay, you are disgraced, you leave, here's the child, we'll take care of the child." But that's one scenario. There's another scenario, another woman who has come from one of the villages where we've worked, who was also raped in the field, or raped when she went to get water in the forest. Say you live in a village, you have to go to get water in this direction, in one forest which is occupied by one military group, but in order to get firewood, you have to go into this forest on the other side, which is occupied by somebody else. So the woman goes to get water, comes back. She doesn't dare say that she's been raped because she will be blamed by somebody for having been on the other guy's side. I mean, so
the whole issue of gender and responsibility. So Heal Africa is working with communities to say, wait a minute, when women are raped in this kind of a way, it is not because they wanted it. It is not their fault. They should not be shamed. They should be accepted and encouraged that, to be assured that she's loved and valued and part of society.
Has it been culturally acceptable, though, by the men in the Congo that rape was okay?
No. I don't think anybody thinks it is. And it's interesting, Heal Africa has been working with military as well as with community leaders. We work with all faith groups in a community. We work with teachers. There are curricula that have been developed for school teachers, for primary school, for community leaders, for the faith leaders, and for the military. And one of the staff was talking about going and talking to the military group, and they said they have these simple pictures, cartoons, say in front of a military group, if your grandmother was raped, what would you do to the rapist? They say, I'd kill him. What if it was your wife, your sister, your daughter? I'd kill him. They say, well, don't you think that the women that you rape have husbands and fathers and brothers? And so it's like helping people rethink the same information, but in a different way.
So is it you doing it?
No. No, all of the staff in Congo are Congolese. So Mama Muliri, who you met,
yep.
There's a whole
amazing hero, by the way.
She is. I mean, and all of these people are so amazing and so
yeah, she's about
brave.
5'2".
Joseph Chiza, Modestine. We have so many people, Ndungo Sakul. We have all of these people who are doing this on a daily basis, putting their lives in the line because, you know, bullets are bullets. And they have relationships with the people in the different military groups and the different villages. And Heal Africa is respected because it is not partisan in a place that is highly partisan.
Highly partisan. So you have to pick a tribe and be on their side. Is that it?
In general, you are at one tribe or another.
Okay, so it's been picked for you by heritage.
Right.
Let's go back to the day in the life of the woman who's been raped. Mm-hmm. Let's say that she has been outcast. And can she go back to her community? How does she get back in?
Say possibly she was raped violently and developed a fistula. She would have to go to the water early in the morning when nobody else is around because nobody really likes to be around her because she's leaking urine or feces. She could get fixed surgically. And that's one of Heal Africa's programs. We have a huge fistula repair. And so we have counselors, local women that have been trained to identify what the needs are and to refer them to appropriate treatment, whether it's locally for STDs or fistula repair. If you go to the hospital, or once you are in one of these counselors' I'd say arms rather than portfolio.
Okay.
Those counselors are trying to do the best they can to make that woman feel loved and accepted and safe.
Which is going to have to be incredibly difficult if her family and her own community.
But family mediation really works. And so
family mediation in the Congo?
Yes, sir. So these counselors go to the husbands and to the families and start working with them and say, you know, what happened to your wife was not her fault. She didn't ask for this. She's suffering just like you're suffering. Is there a way that we can make this bridge? And over and over again, I've heard stories of, and I've seen families that have been reconciled.
We're going to take a very short break, and then I want to come back and want to talk about some of the heroes in the Congo. Okay. Just want to remind everyone we're very fortunate to have Judy Anderson from Heal Africa. Please go to the website, www.healafrica.org. We're getting it up on the screen several times throughout the show. An awful lot of very, very brave people taking on some very difficult circumstances in the Congo, and Judy is leading the U.S. and other parts of the world too, huh?
No, I'm just their bridge.
Okay, you can be their bridge. Well, let's talk about some of the heroes. We talked about Mama Muliri before. The story that I heard with her was essentially something that I wouldn't have the nerve to do what she did, to back down tribal chieftains, a bunch of them all together. She did that. Tell us about Mama Muliri.
Well, she's a very strong woman of faith with a lot of wisdom. And she started young. She started by listening and being interested in what women's lives were. She was unusually, I think, wise in that she grew up in a family that was loving. And so she had a way to listen and to love people in a gentle and a non-threatening way. So she became known as a woman who was wise, as a counselor. And she had been elected by the women in her church to be their leader, and then she was elected by a number of churches to be their representative. And I met her first when she was one of the first people trained as a counselor for HIV. When Heal Africa started really getting serious about getting good information out into all the faith groups about HIV, how it's transmitted, how to take care of somebody with it, how to care for somebody in your home, how to talk about sexuality with your children, how to do a lot of these things that nobody really did, because there are so many myths and lies about HIV transmission that most people didn't even want to even talk about it because they didn't think, you know.
So how do you...
So
I mean,
she became a counselor.
Yeah, I heard her speak.
Yeah.
And as gentle and wise and all those things that she is, I would not mess with Mama Muliri.
No, because she has the strength of her convictions, and she has her own gravitas that is developed because she has seen so much, and she knows what is possible. So she is an unstoppable force.
There are other heroes,
yes,
in the Congo, and some of them are men.
Yes, yes.
Are they heroes in part because they are bucking up against their own society to a certain extent?
You know, I think maybe there's an international standard of what is good that transcends our cultural standards. And these are men who want the best for their country. They see what's happening, and they are equally determined and committed to making a difference in their own communities. So doctors, I know one, he's trained as a nurse, but he's also has led hospitals, and I mean, they call him doctor there. He has made relationships with all of the military leaders. He has gone into the areas that are, quote, the enemy of almost everybody, and has helped them understand how HIV can be prevented, has helped them look at how they treat people. I mean, obviously it's one person can't make all the changes necessary, but it's not one person. There are maybe 25 of them doing that today as we sit here.
You
and maybe 300 working as counselors and as in other parts of the programs of Heal Africa.
Well, what I've read is that this isn't exactly a war zone like we see on the movies, but it looks like, though, that there is the opportunity for daily military activity from any one of a number of groups. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
So how do you know who's on your side?
Thank God for cell phones. You know, it's funny, but cell phones are a huge part of our work there. So, you know, we're not bashing cell phones. But I think, well, because they're Congolese, and they know people, they went to school with people, they know people, and because Heal Africa has been working in this area for 11 years, they call people on the phone and say, is it okay to come on this road? And the people that are in the village know what's happening. They can say, no, don't come until after 5 o'clock. Or,
really?
Yes.
Wow, that's kind of like drive time here.
Well, And what you do, what you learn when you're in Goma is you really depend on the people that know. And you say, okay, it's not my schedule, it's your schedule.
Yeah. Are there women in the military?
There are women in the military, yes.
Now, when I think of military, I think of a government force. Is there a government military there, and then these paramilitary groups too?
Yes. There are probably, I don't know, 12 to 15 different groups.
Wow.
With different allegiances. Some groups are as small as 10 to 15 people.
Speaking of small, forgive me, but I look at you and I don't see how you haven't been harmed. I don't see how some of the people who work for Heal Africa haven't been harmed themselves. How have you made it?
God is good. And that I don't say that lightly. I think the reason is because Heal Africa's staff have really developed a credible relationship with the people on the ground in villages.
Regardless of
in villages,
whose gun they
in
pick
different military groups, Heal Africa has treated everybody's soldiers in their hospital. We have a no guns posting on the outside of the hospital. And one Japanese journalist said to me, he said, "This is really a different place. This is a place of peace." And I said, "I'm really glad you sensed that, because it really, that's what we want it to be."
How about the children? The children who grow up, the children whose mother has been raped and either taken away or she's back in the home?
Well, I think that's where it's so important to help a community rebuild, help a community develop the skills and get the information that will help them really care for the most vulnerable in their community. And those are the children. And you can't have a safe place for children if you don't have a safe place for adults. So helping understand what gender is, how to access justice, and there is some justice available. Not enough, but there is some. Helping women learn what their rights are and their responsibilities. Women are learning how to read. They're learning, we're urging women to vote. And they're learning what a responsible citizen can expect of their elected representatives. And I think that, to me, is a very hopeful sign, because we do know that without peace and without stability, the kids of Congo won't have a chance to go to school. When they have a chance, they grab it.
It sounds like it's becoming a country, perhaps again.
Absolutely.
Are there, I mean, you've been in and out of there. As we speak, you're going back in a couple of days. Are there outside influences that are keeping the war going? Or should I say wars?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Congo does not make guns, does not make ammunition, does not make satellite communication systems. So where's it coming from?
Good point. Good point. What's the Nehemiah Committee?
Heal Africa, when it started working, it said, we cannot work with one faith group. So since 2003, one of the strategies has been to work with leaders of a community in a place where we were sending women back, so that there would be people, a framework of leadership who understood the situation and was committed to helping make it possible for these women to reintegrate, women and children often. So the Nehemiah committees could be the leader of the Muslim imam, or somebody from the mosque, somebody from the Baptist church, somebody from whatever faith groups are active in that village, men and women and youth. So that you've got a representative in that committee from just about every interest group. And the idea is that they can work together, they can access information, whether it's on family planning and safe motherhood or agriculture or credit and savings, so that they become the people that are the cutting edge of what's possible for the village and provide leadership to make it possible for people to get that information.
Do they have credibility because they are tied to Heal Africa, or does Heal Africa have credibility because they are tied to the Nehemiah
Heal Africa has credibility because they're tied to the Nehemiah committees. It works both ways. It works both ways.
Is there internal government, I mean, Congolese government involvement in a positive way or in a negative way?
Well, there's both. I think the Congolese government is strapped because most Congolese officials don't get paid on a regular basis. I don't know if our post office would work or if our police departments would work if nobody got paid. I don't know if our army would work if nobody got paid, and their salary is supposed to be $7 a month, but how many of them get it? I don't know. I am amazed at the number of Congolese doing their jobs in situations that are almost incredible anywhere else. Nobody else would pitch up for work. And they're there. There are people at the border. There are people, and the administrators appreciate the work that Heal Africa is doing because they're helping them do their job better.
We only have about a minute and a half
not
left.
Not all of them, but a lot, you know.
We only have about a minute and a half left. Look ahead 10 years. Tell us what that looks like.
Well, I'm very hopeful because I see young people coming out of university who have gone to university with no books, who have, you know, been studying the syllabus that was really the lecture notes from their teachers. And yet they're coming out of school, they're going to school around the world, they're doing very well. They are motivated, they're smart, they're savvy, and when I see the changes that cell phones have wrought and technology has wrought, they are going to catch up. And I'm hoping that in the next 10 years, the people of Congo will realize that they can expect more from their elected officials, and I hope that there will be a way to trace money so that it can actually be sent to an individual soldier by his cell phone. And some of the technology that is available and being used in other parts of the world can be used in Congo to cut down graft corruption, and that will create huge amounts of hope and opportunity.
Are these students who are going away to get education, are they coming back to the Congo?
Well, some of them are, and I think most of them would like to, but the situation has been so murky that it's hard for some of them to see. I've met a number of people that have come back, and some that are working there, and some that are still discouraged. We want to encourage them to come back and make Congo the brilliant diamond for the rest of the world that it could be.
Okay, we're going to let that be the last word. www.healafrica.org. Be sure to go to that website and then learn an awful lot more about the women of the Congo who are taking their country back. We'll see you next time right here on Rainmakers TV. Take care.